Aye. Born and raised in Kyoka. My family is from Minoli, so I can talk a little bit about Papa Mao and when they left Minoli during that voyage. Working for the Office of Maunakea Management is an awesome experience. I am Waipio. We from Kukui Haile, Ishibashi side from Kaohi, Kukeao Ranch. My grandfather was a cowboy, born and raised up there. So I know the mountain, raised on the mountain, but I love Minoli just as much. So it goes back a long ways. Minoli, but first, before I get into that part, I wanted to thank so many people spending 7 years working on this TMT project. There's a lot of people that was never thanked or appreciated for the work that they have done, which was a lot of work has been done and offered to the benefit of all. So we reached this stage and this point in the game, and had to thank them first before I say anything else. So many people, too many to mention by name. Also, I would like to thank our protectors of the Mauna. As I get into my history and my history with the unions, I'm going to explain a little bit why I respect what they're doing more and more each day. It's something that was instilled in me from baby time in Kyoka. So I just wanted to explain some of that history. After the tidal wave, my dad was a shipping clerk at the Hilo Iron Works. It was one of the few buildings that lasted through the tidal wave. So I remember the hard times. I remember suffering without work opportunities because a lot of devastation in Hilo back in the 60s. So we used to go down to the office, Hilo Iron Works, or Horn Iron, what it was called before, and try and help around, clean up, get ready for everybody to return back to work. But I remember one night, knock on the door, and they came over and offered some groceries, Spam, tuna. As a small kid, I forget, I was 6 years old or something. That was amazing. So I asked my dad, who is this guy? Who is this person? Who this guy is coming over? He said, oh, that's the union man. That's the union man. My dad belonged to the ILW. So that's the union man trying to help the workers. So that was my first experience with the union. My dad died pounding OPs down King's Landing, 67, right after we start getting back Hilo Town back to normal. My mom remarried a great man, Delaris family from Kona, stationed in Schofield Barracks, so I moved to Schofield, lived over there, graduated from Lele. Returned home back in 74. 75, started working for Hilo Coast. From that day, I always wanted to be a union man. Why? 1843, the Great Mahele. That was the beginning of ownership of all the Hawaiian lands. You could start owning Hawaiian lands. The big fives under the sugar industry, that was the bad guys. There was the bad guys. That's the guys who overthrow our queen. That's the guys that overtook and down-pressed our workers in Hawaii. It's tough enough to live in Hawaii, the high cost of living, back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, until today, it's still the high cost of living in Hawaii. But it was the union who brought that sense of dignity back to the workers of the islands. So from 75, I've been involved with the union until I retired in 2012. Then I had the lucky opportunity to work for the Mauna to remember what I was taught as a young boy. But it was the Union and fighting the overthrow of the Queen, exactly what they're doing today. It's just a remnant of that battle. What I learned is that you got to follow the laws. We live by a land of laws. You got to follow the laws. You cannot take cut shots, and then you can get ahead. You got to work, provide for your family. You got to be a good Hawaiian, but you got to be a good American also. So that's what I learned, that you work hard, you play hard, honest day of work, you get an honest day pay. That was Union's one. And an injury to one is an injury to all. That's the way we were taught. So we in the same boat. That's why I respect our protectors a lot for what they're doing. Because we still continuing the fight. But that fight will not be won on the streets of Maunakea Access Road. That fight will be won in courts, and that's where the fight should go. Shouldn't be in the streets. It shouldn't be in, because that fight being fought for years and years and years. It will continue to be fought for years and years. So to my protectors, don't give up. To my supporters of TMT, don't give up. We're there for a purpose, we're there for a reason, and we're there to help provide for our families, our communities, and for the world. But my common ground, I wanted to talk about the cultural sites on Maunakea. And there was one of the important topics that I learned. I just worked going on 2 years for the company, OMKM, and trying to learn the different aspects of the job. One of my favorite things is protecting the cultural sites on the Mauna. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, short little talk, not going to be too long, hopefully. But I wanted to give you a little bit background on my history a little bit, genealogy, and where I come from. So the management structure, an Office of Maunakea Management. The Maunakea Management Board has 7 community volunteers. We also have our Kahuku Mauna Council, which consists of 9 Hawaiian community volunteers. And we are managed by the Maunakea Comprehensive Management Plan, which just started in 2009, completed. Along with the Comprehensive Management Plan, we have 4 sub-plans, which includes the Cultural Resources Plans, the Natural Resources Plan, the Public Access Plan, and the Decommissioning Plan. So we've been working on this, yeah, you can turn, since 2009 under these plans. Our first line of defense is our Rangers, top-notch group of individuals, highly respected in the community and through the university system. So much aloha and love for the people, for the community, and especially for our visitors who has no clue on what they're getting themselves into when they come into the Mauna. So I highly respect our Rangers. You can turn this on. Our Rangers trying to provide balance, harmony, and trust to the public. This was in 2002. OMKM established the Ranger program to provide daily oversight of UH-managed lands. A key responsibility in informing visitors about the cultural, natural, and scientific significance, as well as the hazards of visiting the Mauna. Our Rangers perform a variety of duties: emergency assistance, assisting stranded motorists, janitors, litter removal, trail maintenance, inspecting the observatories for compliance of their CDUP, and also providing visitors with cultural information about Maunakea. This one we get into our archaeological inventory survey. And again, this was just completed in 2010. So we've been working on this for a long time. And this is our final report just coming out. The inventory survey is all the UH managed lands and the NARS area, Natural Area Reserve. And the state recognized historic properties and contemporary find spots. So it's two different things between historic properties and find spots. Okay. Our Pacific Consulting company did this report for OMKM. Okay, historic properties are any building, structures, objects, area, or site 50 years of age or older. Traditional cultural properties are defined as having an association with cultural practices or beliefs of a living community. So here we have a map of our managed land. It's 12,000 plus acres. If you see, it's the green circle. And you have thank you. This is our astronomy precinct, this area here. But this is all the land that we manage, Office of Maunakea. So the site survey, historical sites did this whole thing, even the NARS area, Lake Waiau is here. But they did survey of all these sites, get over 280 sites on the Mauna. And it's real extensive survey and information. So they're asking to give back all of this land, which we respect the governor and agree. So this is the land we're going to be giving back. We're going to be managing some of this area, the astronomy precinct, also the road that's going up. So that's part of the governor's plan to return those lands. I'm not going to give you my personal opinion of that, but I respect the site, so nobody can do a better job of managing a mountain now than OMKM. Yes, we failed in the past. We try to improve our quality of managing the property, so I'm not trying to hide anything there, but right now, based on everything going on, we're the most qualified group. Okay, next one. Just a couple of photos of our adze quarry and some of the historical sites on property. Here we have an adze blank. We have shrines up there on the site. Trail markers and memorials. And suspected burial sites. We haven't excavated any of our burial sites, but this is through molelos that we recognize and take this interpretation as burial sites, and we have a few on the Mauna. So we also have a burial treatment plan, which defines response process and prepares university and community members in event of exposed EV. So this is where we cover all of the different procedures that we have to follow to contact the state and do interns. We already went up to Maunakea and did re-intern some EVs that was exposed through erosion. So it's an ongoing practice that we go up and do these cultural sites inspections. So this is our final report of the long-term plan to ensure security and protection, to recognize historic sites. And again, it's a long-term plan. So it's a work in progress and ongoing. April 2014, this just came out. So yeah, it took us a while to get this thing going, but it's there. And this is what we're going to use from now on as we proceed forward with protecting our historical sites. One more shot. Here's an example of the sites. We have over 280 sites on there. And what they're doing is they come in every year and they cannot check all of the 280 sites at one time, so they go by increments. 50 sites this year, next year they do the next 50 until they complete. But in 2005, they recognized the uprights and it's numbered. This was back in 2005 when they did one of the surveys. And then in 2012, again, they reported changes. It's missing or it's down. Upright stone was altered. So this is just proof that, somebody going up there and rearranging or fixing or whatever they're doing, but it's a difference. So that's why we monitor these sites, to have a documentation of what is the proper setup of these uprights. And we go back prior to 2005 also that we have these reports. But it's every year that they update the reports. So it's part of the results of this monitoring of historic sites. You can click on. With every site also, there's a hand drawing that the archaeological department does, and they number and draw and give us, the drawings of the setup of the sites with GPS readings, so we can identify exactly the correct location and how the thing was pretty much in the old days, trying to maintain that record of any changes to the sites. So this is done for every site on the Mauna, just to keep a documentation of the sites. Okay, find spots are modern, that is less than 50 years of age. So we have over 300 modern rock arrangements. And under state regulation, it forbids physical alterations within a conservation district without a permit. So we have just as many find spots as historic sites. Because there's no vegetation, it's obvious that we have this thing just popping up all over. Under our policy, we have 30 days without a permit, we take them down. We try to take it down so that it doesn't confuse and keep adding more and more and more to the landscape. Okay. Hawaii law protects all historic properties from any alteration or disturbance. And it is illegal to alter or disturb any historic property without the state approval. So again, there is a permitting process. If you want to erect a new ahu, you have to ask permission through the state, DLNR, and then we can protect your site if that is approved. So there is a process, and we're not limiting cultural practitioners from doing it, but you have to follow the process. That's what it is. Okay. So legal protection, sensitive areas requiring archaeological monitoring for any ground disturbance. Anything on a Mauna that's going to have ground disturbance, you have to have your archaeological monitor present. In any sites, there is a 200-foot buffer zone that's typically set up to protect sensitive areas. Okay. Legal protection, if any burials are found, EVs, work in that area must stop immediately until a decision is made regarding the disposition of that find. What is unique to Hawaii is that it's illegal to photograph human skeletal remains in Hawaii. And that's one cultural thing that it doesn't take away from the police doing any type of investigation. Like we just found this hiker lost for about 5 years. They just found him, but it doesn't stop any type of investigation for police work. But what it does do is protect the capturing of the spirit. They consider that when you photograph, you capture the spirit and you take him away from the EVs. So That's why in Hawaii it's unique. You cannot photograph EVs or human remains in Hawaii. And penalties for violating historic preservation laws are severe, with up to $10,000 per violation per day or per day of violation. Ongoing cultural practices, yes, it's ongoing. It's 24/7. We don't limit access for any cultural practitioners. They have full access to the summit region as long as the road is open, not because of snow. Offerings, there are a lot of offerings left up there by different groups. But after 10 days, we remove offerings. If not, it's going to look like a rubbish pile. So we try and maintain the sacredness of the Mauna by removing offerings after 10 days. And this was through our advice from Kahuku Mauna, our cultural advisors, that we have keep the area clean. That's what it is. Ho'okupu and Lele's, this is a picture of our summit, Lele. So we try and follow the state on Nawahipana, respecting Hawaiian sacred sites. So this is something we're trying to incorporate as we continue to monitor and protect the sites. One of the biggest problems we have is, we stopped them, was on this geocaching. They would use this ahu as one of their sites, where they would hide these things in there and hammer the stones. So we told them to remove this off of their system and not allow any type of geocaching on the Mauna. So we just found a new area below by the Viz last week. And again, we advising this geocaching organization not to use the Mauna as one of their spots. But it's something that the tourists do. And I think all sites in the state should be protected with no geocaching. It's just a fun thing they do, something to do as they tour our aina. So it's something important. Best practices, when you're working up on a Mauna, you work only in approved areas. You have to avoid undisturbed areas, trying to protect the landscape as much as possible. And you only bring up what is needed. You don't bring up anything extra. And no littering allowed. Your vehicles have to be maintained clean, so the wind, when you open your door, doesn't blow out any type of rubbish. Okay. Invasive species plan, and this is a requirement that you clean all your personal gear. All workers on the Mauna has to be aware and clean the equipment. It's every day you get inspected, most of the time by yourself. But any equipment coming up, any type of material coming up to the Mauna has to be inspected. And it's regular. You have to schedule your inspection before coming up to the Mauna. So this is one of the things. We don't have ants on the summit. We don't have ants on HP. So it's one of our most priority issues. No ants. We don't want no ants. It's one of the last areas on Hawaii that has no ants, is on our Mauna. So it's unique to Maunakea. Safety, and again, four-wheel drive is required. It's our recommendation that you use your four-wheel drive and have a four-wheel drive when you come up to the summit. But with the new highway, Saddle Road Highway, it's been for two-wheel drive cars coming up now. So it's just flooded with tourists that come up that don't respect safety for themselves or for the general public. So main thing, you follow the speed limit signs, stay hydrated, acclimate at HP for 30 minutes, because the body reacts to altitude changes. And for the weather, be prepared for all types of weather. You have any questions, you call our Rangers, or 911, you set the ball rolling to get help. Here's a photo of a honeymoon couple came up. They just stepped out of their vehicle, take a picture, turn around, and the car caught on fire. So we ran out of fire extinguishers that day on the summit, but it's what happened when you come up. It's not a four-wheel drive vehicle, but this regular things happen on a mountain like this. So very interesting place. Some of the challenges and what we need in help. So I'm a solver. I want to solve problems, not create problems. So that's pretty much my union background, trying to solve problems before happening. Monitoring. Cultural and archaeological monitoring is important. Sharing of ike, the knowledge. How we can get cultural practitioners to help share what they know about the Mauna so that we can help with the inventory, monitoring, and keeping the documents of the stories, the molelos of why that site is so important to you, why that location is so important to you, and what you use that areas for. So that's, we're trying to have more practitioners' involvement, more public involvement. Public documents as required by state law, but not publicized. So how do you protect something that aren't supposed to be known about? You're not supposed to know about these sites. How you protect that? That's the kind of dialogue I want to have discussion with. We don't want to publicize this and everybody come near Lele and come over there, look and start taking things. Real sensitive issue this is. We're going through our rules making. Our Rangers, should they have law enforcement capabilities? It's our first line of defense. Public access, cultural access. You know, who has priority up there? Should we have road closure, limited access versus 24-hour access to what we have now? It's the kind of discussion we want to have. Snow play. Is it okay to take the snow off for our water? We got to talk about these things. It's important issues that we as cultural practitioners should have that dialogue, open dialogue, so we have this understanding what we should and shouldn't do on the Mauna. One of the problems we had was not being able to talk story with those in the court system because of the legal battles we're facing. So because we cannot talk, we cannot move forward. Everything's stuck in court. Sure, yeah, it's our fault. OMKM, it's UH fault, and we accept responsibility for that. Yeah, but it's not. We want to talk. We want to share stories. We want to help protect, come up with policies. Help me accomplish that. And we're going to be good. We're moving. I don't know if it's common ground or not, but that's where I want to be. Safety, shared stewardship. Together as cultural practitioners, we can come up with policies, procedures, protocols on how we can conduct ourselves on the Mauna. User impact, snow play, hunting, hiking, you know, what we can do. Visitors impact. Cultural education is real important. We have to teach the visitors why you cannot climb up Kukaula and jump off our ahus up there. You know, we have the buses, we can capture the audiences on the buses, but FITs, when they drive up on the two-wheel, we have no control over those guys. Unless we close the road. Is that what you want? I don't know. I don't think so. And again, just trying to understand the role of evolving the Hawaiian culture and the practices that you guys do on the Mauna. What we all do is different. Theft, big thing, selling on eBay, coming up, taking our ads blanks from the quarry, selling them on eBay, collectors. It's happening. Our Rangers catch them up there. Geocaching, caching, you know, that unnecessary things going on. So again, this is an ongoing process to share and ensure protection of our historic sites. Future plans, meetings, and your participation is critical. So we're having our starting up the rules making process again in the Kona Civic Club, June 23rd. It's 5 p.m. to 7:30. In Hilo, June 24th, same time at Imiloa Center. In Waimea, we have our Department of Hawaiian Homeland Hall. That's June 25th, 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Some of the pending issues are trying to work on and have is a shuttle system. Stop the cars from going up. Start a shuttle transportation system. Create a cultural practitioner, Ahu, Lele protocols. How we can establish new Ahus for the practitioners who want to create. Let's start that process. Let's start that discussion. Where you put your offerings. Right now, we're just throwing them away. That's not the proper way. You had to have a site where you put your offerings, your whole kupus. When it's finished, after the 14 days, you had a proper way to dispose of it. We don't have that now. Let's talk about it. Kumuhula, Cultural Education Center. Been working on this. Nobody know. But I had that vision already. Let's work it. Let's bring it to reality. Let's sit on a table. Let's talk about creating a new culture center for the Mauna, where our halaus can come up and teach our kids whatever we want to. Run by practitioners. Let's sit down. Let's talk about it, people. It's our website, Maunakea.org. It's updated regularly. But this is some of our future plans. And it's critical that I have support from our practitioners. Come out, get involved. And we agree to disagree sometimes. It's okay. It's part of the process. But let's open dialogue. Let's talk story. It's important. Please. One more time. Okay. Mahalo nui. Officer Maunakea. Thank you.
Thank you, Wally. Very well done. Do I have other questions from folks? I have a couple. Yeah, pick up the questions. I have a couple of questions, and some of these are maybe not Wally questions, but are Rangers protected by a union?
Ready up? No, they're not. Ready at a union.
They're not HSGA?
No, I don't think so.
HGEA?
No.
Okay. Well, our chief ranger is back here, Mr. Scotty, in the back. That's a great personality up on the mountain. Thank you so much for your work, Scotty. Yeah. Right there, right there. Is Shane here too? Yeah. There's a question from your perspective. How is a site deemed sacred? What's your thoughts? What's your mana'o on that? What makes a sacred site, or how do you identify or?
And again, it's the kuleana of the family. It's up to your family and how you was taught. Everybody was trained differently on your perspective, so it's sacred to you. I consider that as a family issue. And some sites is more sacred than others. So it's all depending on the family and how they carry on that kuleana to protect and support that site.
Yeah, you cite that over 280 sites on the mountain, that there are about 280 historical sites on the mountain. However, the protectors view the whole mountain as a cultural site. How do you reconcile that viewpoint?
Yeah, that's true. The whole mountain is sacred. The whole mountain is cultural site in itself. In itself is a sacred site. The whole mountain. But it's identified by each, and again, come back to the family. Each individual ahu or site up there was from a specific person, family, and it's their kuleana to protect. So I cannot see what is sacred to you may not be sacred to me. It's your individual, and that's the way it was. The whole mountain is sacred. This whole island is sacred. We live on the slopes of Maunakea. How can that be any less sacred than up there? Plantation was the most disrespectful. to our cultural sites was through the plantations. The damages they did when I was working in a plantation in the 70s, we still was bringing up EVs in the mills. Still bringing in stones from the fields. That's the disrespect when it happened back sugar days, and it's the whole island is sacred to me.